This is a story I've been covering, and I know a lot of people who listen are very invested in those ranchers and in the outcome. You and one other rancher, the only ranchers remaining on Point Reyes, and you sued the Park Service over this.
Just troubling on so many levels. It went into a totally closed door process, and all of the ranching families were required to sign a non disclosure agreement. Even Congressman Jared Huffman, who was part of these discussions, signed this or says he did. And I have doubts of whether a sitting member of Congress is actually even allowed to talk about federal or public lands as a member of Congress and sign a non disclosure agreement. I don't even think that that's legal. In their haste to get this deal done quickly before the departure of the Biden administration, there had been violations of the public process that is required by law.
The Park Service did have their thumb on the scale.
Yes, the Park Service was not a neutral entity, and neither was our congressman at all.
Congressman Jared Huffman seems to have been completely complicit with forcing these ranchers out. Was that your catalyst for deciding to run for Congress?
Yes, I had voted for Jared Huffman. We voted for him again, and we kind of put it on autopilot. But starting a couple of years ago with the Point Reyes situation, I started to hear more and more incidents that I thought were really troubling about his conduct when the effort to remove the oyster farm was happening. He sort of took a publicly neutral stance, which in and of itself I find some sort of cowardly. But he actually wasn't neutral. He was very in favor of removing the oyster farm and acted accordingly. At that time, the Lunny family and others were saying this is just the first thing that's going to happen, and then they're going to come for the ranches. There's a petition trying to eliminate the remaining access to the fishery for the local fishermen. Jared Huffman signed on to that petition, and then after it became very controversial, he took a neutral stance. They take this very absolutist perspective. We don't want, the oyster farm. We don't want the ranchers. We're going to quote unquote protect this land. The reason I decided to run for Congress was because I felt that Jared Huffman was doing a very poor job representing the people in our district. And then when Proposition 50 was being discussed, and I realized that it would change this district to add 3 more counties that were very rural, I just felt there was kind of this almost like call to action, like someone who is actually connected with rural communities and agriculture in particular has to run because he cannot represent these people. He will not do it. He won't even really try. He doesn't really believe that they matter or that they should be even allowed to practice their livelihoods.